friends, Vanessa here again. In this session, we're going to be talking about um, cases, and we're going to talk about forms and surveys and um, cases and sessions on how to schedule an appointment, record a session note, and assign surveys, or in other words, homework for your client. So in order to do that from the dashboard, we're going to go into My Cases, and then we're going to go into our client, and we're going to go, let's do forms and surveys first. So we're going to go into forms and surveys. It's a brief overview. On the assigned survey tab, all of the surveys that have been assigned to this counselee are here in this grid. On the current surveys tab, there's a drop down list here of everything that has been assigned to them. If they filled it out, you'll see the actual survey and with all its questions and answers. If they haven't filled anything out yet, it will look like this, no records to display. So that's one way for you to see, have they filled this out yet or not? And then the view archives shows you actually which surveys have been completed, and you can print these surveys, which is actually a PDF download. So all you do is click print survey, and however your downloads come on your browser, it will open up and you can print this off. Super handy for PDIs and life stories when they're filled out, for you to have printed so you can take your notes in your first session. But of course, you don't have to do it that way. You can simply just view it on screen if that's easier for you. All right, let's assign a survey. So let's assign Gospel Treason Chapter 3. So I choose the survey I want to assign and assign survey. Now, you'll notice that all of these required boxes are checked except for the Gospel Treason. For whatever reason, this is set up by default to be not required. And so we need to change that and make sure that it is required. Otherwise, our counselee will not see that this homework has been assigned to them. So we're going to click Edit, and then you're just going to click Require for Client. Now I want to point out to you the frequency as well. By default, it's set up as one time, and this is because PDIs, life stories, consent forms are all mandatorily required, and they are all set up to default as one time. So you wouldn't want someone to continue to fill out the PDI or continue to fill out their life story. So, but if you had something like a reading assignment questionnaire or something that you want them to do once per week as you're counseling them, you can choose weekly and click update. And now we see that chapter 3 is required and we want them to do it weekly. It doesn't give you the option to say when to stop. So you would have to come back in here and move this back to one time. Okay. So it's kind of a cool feature, but kind of tricky. One other thing that I want to point out about surveys is for our premarital counseling couples. We have all of the questions for each chapter of Tying the Knot in here. And going forward, we're going to ask that you assign these chapters to your counseling couples, or the couples you're counseling, and have them fill out their questions in here. This is good for us to have this information in BibliCare versus on paper, and then you take it and you scan it in and you upload it. So as much as possible, we want to have our clients inputting information into here. Okay. If you have any questions about assigning surveys, as always, just reach out to me. All right, moving on to cases and sessions. We're going to talk about scheduling appointments right now. In Soul Care, your clients could schedule an appointment with you. It was clunky Some of you had trouble with that. I know I had some challenges with it myself. And so BibliCare does not allow for that. We as counselees have to schedule the appointments in here. And you have to schedule them, otherwise you won't be able to record your session notes. So it kind of is like a chain thing here. So this piece right now of the training is super important. And again, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll try to help you and walk through some of this with you. Um, so um, this screen here, you can't really do a whole lot. This is done by me actually as the administrator. But if you hover over their name, this box will give you a lot more information. This is a fake client, so there isn't a whole lot, but this is actually filled out by the counselee themselves when they request counseling from us. And so there's a lot of information that's put in here, and hopefully it will be helpful to you. Oops, don't want to do that. Session history, this is where you're going to both create a session, add a new session, and to schedule appointments and record your session notes. So let's go ahead and do that. So I just selected the case from the drop down and I'm going to click add a new session. Okay, now this box comes up. These boxes are all empty except for this actions. So in order to schedule an appointment, you click on actions and schedule appointment. So now we have the add to schedule window. So what you're going to want to do is from this little calendar here, you want to choose the date that you want your appointment. So you're going to have to discuss with your counselee when you're going to meet, figure that out when you meet with them, and then come back in and put your next appointment in here. So I'm going to meet with my client, with Jane, on the 6th. And we're going to meet at, say, 6 p.m. Got to double click here. All right, so July 6th from 6 to 7 p.m. I'm going to choose my location. I'm going to meet in the counseling office at the Bellevue campus and click save. All right, now this comes up and you can see that you can sync the appointment to your calendar, you can change the appointment time, or you can delete this appointment. You can do any of those things here. The syncing the appointment to your calendar, remember back in the first training of overview, I talked about how I would do that at a later date, and I do plan on doing it so that I can sync my own calendar. I think it'll be a cool feature, but I just haven't had the time to do it yet. So if you want to go ahead and read through all of that and do it yourself, good for you. That's awesome. All right, if you want to change the appointment time, the same window is going to pop up. So you can go ahead, we need to meet actually for an hour and a half and not at 7:30 a.m. Okay, can't get this to work. This is not good. You can just type it in. All right, so one cool thing about this, okay, if you go to the month view and you look at, I can see my appointments here. You can also hover over here if you're in the month view. This agenda view is wonderful too, because if you had more than one date here, it would show up. And again, same thing, you've got all these options here, okay? So we're just gonna close out of that. All right, so we have, this is what shows up now. So now we have added a new session, but we haven't scheduled a reminder for them, nor have we sent them any kind of appointment information. So we can send our appointment info to our counselee right through the software. That'll send them an email and let them know, hey, you've got a session coming up on July 6th at 6 p.m. So we're going to send the appointment info. And it says an appointment email was sent. I use my same email address for all of these accounts, so it's being sent to me. All right. So, but we still have not scheduled a reminder. So we can do that from right here. And send a reminder. So, we can go 48 hour, send them an email 48 hours, 24, 8 hours, 4 hours, 1 hour, remind now. Well, let's try 6 p.m. Let's send it 8 hours before and schedule a reminder. Reminder email will be sent 8 hours before their appointment to remind them that they have that. So that'll give them time if they're like, oh, my husband, scheduled something during that time. Now I'm not going to be able to make that time. Okay. So that's that. That is how you schedule an appointment in here. All right. Now you've had your appointment with your client and you want to enter your session notes. So again, you're going to come back here. Okay, so let's go all the way out. You're going to go to My Cases, click on their name, go to Cases and Sessions, Session History, Jane Tester. And now we're going to go to Actions and enter Session Notes. Okay, so the Session Notes window pops up. We're going to make sure that this is correct. We actually did meet until 7:30 p.m. And if this is your first session, we want you to use your first session notes. If it's your final closing session, your last time of meeting, we would want you to use the final closing session notes. And anything in between that, you would use this session notes. For Healing Hearts leaders, you have the BUP and the HEM session notes. So what we would like from you is use the first session notes for the first one and then just follow through for each chapter. So in this case, we'll just say this is our first one. And I will be attaching all of these documents, these session notes with their questions in the email that I send out to everyone. All right, so you'll know what questions are on there. So I'm going to fill this out and I'm going to type in whatever it is. I'm going to answer these questions, type it in, click update, and follow through each and every one. When I'm finished, if I have to come back and finish it later because I don't have enough time, I'm going to save it as incomplete. I'm going to click this. If I'm finished, I'm going to type in my name and then I'm going to mark it complete. This will help Leslie know that you've completed session notes, and just like she did in Soul Care, she's going to be able to review these and be an encouragement to you and pray for you and come alongside you with any questions you may have. Okay, and so that's entering your session notes. Pretty simple.